Good evening, everyone. Merry Christmas to the lot of you, even if it is a little bit early. Yes, indeed. It's Friday, and it's the John Robson Guitar Tuition Office Christmas Party, I've decided to call this. So let's treat it like an office Christmas party, shall we? That means that you can feel free to sneak off to the stationery cupboard for an illicit liaison. Someone will probably end up photocopying their backside and, maybe even somebody else will wake up in the morning regretting something that they've said to the boss, but it won't be me because I am the boss. Cheers, everyone. Anyway, happy Christmas. I've got to remember I'm on for longer tonight, so I need to make sure I don't get too much of a rapid taste for that stuff too early on. So, is everybody all set for, the seasonal madness, as I refer to it? Evening, Podrig, how are you, mate? Evening, Graham. Evening, Sargi. Evening, Jason. Evening, Ozzy. Let me just have a scroll back up through the chat, see who else is in. Robster Boy, how are you, mate? Brexit Central. Evening, mate. S. Wayne Scott, Deco Dude, all the regulars. It's just nice to see the same old faces, the regulars cropping up every week. So is everybody all set for, the coming festivities? We had the big grocery delivery this morning, and frankly now, if we haven't got it, we don't need it. Evening, Bob. Bottleneck Bob's in. You've been on it since 2, mate, dearie me. Evening, Dan. Dan, the master guitar builder. You can just see a little kind of bit of Dan's handiwork here. There it is. There we go. Seldom out of my hands. Red Card Beach has been bubbling, emitting. Oh, thank you, mate. That's very, very generous of you. Thank you, Robster Boy. Much appreciated. Red Card Beach has been bubbling, emitting a noxious sulphur-type smell. Yes, well, that's just because it's in Redcar, mate. But thank you, Robster Boy. I shall do that, mate. I was putting the wife's present under the tree earlier today, and I had to shuffle a few things around, and I noticed there was a present there for me, and it was in like a bottle-shaped bag. I wonder what can be in that. Better not be Ribena. Where are we? Good thing about being a regular here is that you're guaranteed to get your own stool every time. Yes. And the other good thing is that you can always get a decent pint of whatever it is that floats your boat. You got to buy an Iron Gear t-shirt for your next video. Happy Crimbo, John says, Timbo, I guess you will be cooking turkey dansack after Christmas for a foreseeable future. No, I don't like turkey. I just don't like it. I think it's turkey is always just, I'd rather have chicken. So that's what we're having this year. I'm doing the full roast chicken kind of experience, all the trimmings. With a little bit of help from Aunt Bessie, of course. The lovely wifey, she's working Christmas Day. She's working like a 12 till 6 at the local taxi office. So she's coming home to a full roast dinner, or as near as I can get to a full roast dinner at 6 p.m. after I've been on the beer since 10 o'clock in the morning. We shall see. Hop House 13 tonight, is it, Chip? It's a nice drop, that. Don't throttle back, John, let her rip. What's that, Anton? Great Sonicate review. Thanks to Ozzy for suggesting it. Affordable gear reviews, much appreciated. Yes. It's usually about this time in the video when I tell you what's coming up next week. Well, frankly, there isn't a lot. Because I'm pulling the shutters down on Monday. That's the last video of the year, basically. Basically, there's a solo analysis, which is a viewer request. So Colin, Mr. Falcon, if you're watching, you suggested this solo, so you know which one it is. Basically, we've got friends coming for Christmas, and I just want a couple of days, just me and the missus, just chilling out time, quality time with the wife before the company arrives, and we can just spend a couple of days together. So that's, as I say, I'm officially breaking up from work on Monday. So I have, however, been working on the first video of January today, which is going to be a solo analysis. You asked me for some Saxon last week, so that's what's coming first thing in January. So make sure you check that out if you remember. Easy to forget things over the... Yes, excellent, Colin. Do you know which one it is, mate? It's easy to forget things over the next few days, I suspect. This might have something to do with it. Are we all discussing what Christmas dinner to have? Yes. Well, we always just have whatever we feel like having. We don't really go for often the big Christmas roast dinner every year. It's just whatever we really feel like having any given year. I mean, some years our Christmas dinner is steak and chips, because I like steak and chips. Nice bit of fillet steak, and cooked. Well, a chef would say blue, but I just prefer to say, if I order steak in a restaurant, I always just say wipe its arse and rip its horns off, because that's how I like my steak, I'm afraid. So we have that some years for Christmas, some years we have a curry. But this year it is the full roast dinner. Yes, it is, Colin. Don't Wait for Me by Thunder. Now, there's a lot of people out there scratching their head thinking, what, who? But yeah, it's a great, great track. And as I say in the video that you'll see on Monday, it's sort of Thunder are a band who I think should have been as big as Guns N' Roses. They were out around about the same time. They were very, very similar, if not a little bit better, because frankly, I think Danny Bowles from Thunder is a far better singer than Axl Rose. And they were just a fantastic band, but the ducks never kind of all lined up for them, unfortunately. Then in the morning, midday tomorrow, there's I've basically set you all a little bit of homework. There's the end of term assignment, a little bit of a pentatonic scale challenge for you to have a go at. Evening, Craig. How are you, mate? What you saying, Podrick? Thunder were much better than GNR. I never liked the latter. Yeah, here's the thing about Guns N' Roses. And I like Guns N' Roses material much better when I see Slash playing it solo, with Miles from Alter Bridge singing. I just think, that's how those songs were meant to sound. I think Axl was a bit of a chancer, frankly. I mean, he can hit the notes and everything, but in terms of the timbre of his voice, and, here am I criticising a singer. Wait till you hear me sing. I don't think there's enough beer in the world to convince me to do that. But, I never really liked Axl's voice in terms of the tone of it. It always seemed a bit sort of nasal. But when you hear Guns N' Roses material sung by someone who can sing, it is much better. Evening, Kieran. How are you, mate? Danny Bowles. Danny is a great singer. Was listening to him and Luke from the Nothing Fancy days. Yeah, I mean, I just think for me, Danny Bowles, the guy from Thunder, is, I mean, he's up there, frankly, with the likes of Paul Rodgers, in terms of being a great rock vocalist. And I just think it's criminal, really, that that he doesn't get the recognition and the band doesn't get the recognition. I've just actually reactivated my old Spotify account because we've now got a smart TV and there's a Spotify app on it. So I just reactivated my old account, and there's a load of Thunder live stuff on there, live at Donington, from I think about 1990. I think the full set is there, and maybe another one as well from a couple of years later. And what a band they are, you know. Danny Bowes has a slot on Planet Rock these days. I did not know that, Bob. I shall be checking that out. Indeed. Evening, Paul. How are you, mate? Axl Rose punched David Bowie. That's enough said. Well, yeah, he was quite handy with his with the old fisticuffs, wasn't he? At one time, you know, didn't he punch some reporter for telling him for some reporter I think mistook him for John Bon Jovi, and he clouted him for that. You know, and he's just that. You know, he's straight out of Spinal Tap, isn't he? Axl, in a way. You know, he's you know, all this kind of stuff of showing up 3 hours late and, you know, for gigs and stuff like that. It's unprofessional. Yeah, Spotify, smart TV, and decent soundbar. Yeah, we've got we haven't got the soundbar. We've just got like a home cinema kind of, you know, woofer and satellite speakers kind of set up downstairs, and you know, I used to have the premium subscription to Spotify way back about 5 years ago because I used to find the ads really intrusive. But these days, you know, I can go maybe 2 or 3 days without hearing an ad, and I'm just on the free subscription. So long may it continue. Evening to you, Mr. 112. How are you, mate? Yeah, I still watch Ozzy. I still watch that Freddie Mercury tribute gig. It's always cropping up on Sky Arts, and it really did show. I think that gig what a fantastic singer Freddie was. When you saw all of these, you know, kind of big name singers really kind of struggling to kind of sing Freddie's songs. Joe Elliott. No, but yeah, I think that to me, I'll tell you the one standout singer on that show for me, and you might be a bit surprised at this. I think that gig, that Freddie Mercury tribute gig, was the moment when I first started taking George Michael seriously, because he did a blinding version of Someone to Love, and I thought, yeah, okay, I get what all the fuss is about this guy now. Kind of take away all the kind of teeny bopper hype and the wham and all that sort of stuff, which was, you know, how I sort of envisaged him. You know, that was my impression of George Michael, just this kind of pretty boy with bouffant hair who, you know, could just about carry a tune, and that was it. And I saw him singing Someone to Love on that gig, and I thought, okay, George, yeah, you got me. Evening, Lee. That's Capo on the 4th there. How are you, mate? Dan's a huge George fan, singer, songwriter, and producer. Yeah, this is it. I mean, it's just one of those things that people, you know, it used to be something that people did. I think it'd be interesting to see if anyone else does this. And what I mean is, you take someone like Midge Ure, you know, a guy who, you know, let's face it, he was in Thin Lizzy for a while. He replaced Gary Moore in Thin Lizzy. I don't think he recorded with them, just did a tour. But he started out in a teeny bopper band in the 70s called Slick. And then you had, I guess, Stevie Wonder, you know, little Stevie Wonder, the kind of, you know, he started off as a sort of a teeny bopper kind of thing. And then you get an album like, you end up with an album like Songs in the Key of Life. And, you know, lots and lots of people have done that kind of thing where suddenly they've just kind of flicked the switch and suddenly they are a mature, serious recording artist who's got something to say. it would be interesting to see if, I don't know, I'm struggling to name any of the current crop, but you know, the kind of anybody from, I don't know, what were they called, One Dimension or whatever, or what's that other lot, the Dolly Bird Pussies or whatever they're called, you know, if any of them end up making that sort of transition as well. Yeah, Midge-Ule learnt the Thin Lizzy set on Concorde, didn't he, Ozzy? Yes. I remember seeing an interview with him, and he, you know, because the Concorde flight was so quick, he didn't, you know, he didn't have chance to kind of learn everything. It was a bit of a baptism of fire. So, you know, it would be interesting to see if any of the current sort of crop of, you know, Mr. Cowell's stable of artists end up doing that sort of transition and becoming, you know, serious, you know, artists with a degree of longevity. I discovered George Michael when he started his solo career. Faith. Later I found out about Wham as a curiosity. Oh, thank you very much, Vincent. Thank you. This is very generous of you, chaps. I'm humbled. I really am. You know, cheers. Cheers. I don't solicit the super chat. And to be honest, I'm grateful for it. But please, chaps, if you're feeling generous, there are people more deserving than me. You know, that's all I will say. Zoe's place spring to mind. By the way, that Glary guitar, I meant to put the picture up. I'll do it you know, in a bit. The lady from Zoe's place collected it the other day, and it has gone. It has been released into the wild, as it were. So that's you know. That's all done and dusted. Nice bit of money raised for Zoe's place there once that's sold. And thank you very much to Glary Guitars for donating that guitar. Much appreciated if you're watching. I didn't know that, Dan. I didn't know Hugh Burns was George Michael's guitar player. I don't think I did. I know he's a prolific session player. I didn't know he was he played with George. I don't think. Maybe I read it on Wikipedia and forgot it. But you know, it's yeah. Well, it's a case of like with a player like Hugh Burns, who didn't he play with? Tell you who I was surprised about. You know, Jeff Whitehorn, who was. You know, he was the Marshall demonstrator for many a year, wasn't he? And maybe he still is. I don't know, but. You know, and he's played with like loads of people, Procol Harum, Bad Company, and like loads of people. I didn't know he was Elkie Brooks' musical director for, you know, kind of about 10 years. It just wasn't what I would have thought of as a natural fit, you know. Is that the Star of Prammon glass, the beer of gods? Yes, it is. And there's a pub round the corner from me, and before all of this kind of lockdown stuff, it was still open, and they have like a few seats out the front where all the naughty boys sit and smoke their cigarettes. And I was walking my dog one morning, and somebody had just kind of left their Star of Prammon glass on the wall outside the pub. So I thought, thank you very much, I'll have that. Ran it through the dishwasher, disinfected it, and now it's my go-to beer tankard. It's not Star of Prammon that's in it, I'm afraid. It's just the old Morrison's Export Lager, which I should kind of get some sort of kickback from Morrison's, because this is a nice drop of lager, it has to be said. It's very, very, what's it similar to? It's a bit Stella-ish. It's a bit, you know, it's got the old kind of wife beater vibe going on. Guilty Feet Have Got No Rhythm is one of George's best lyrics. Yeah, you see, this is it, really, isn't it? This is a theme that another thing I've been working on today is, as you know, the Patreon supporters, you get a free, like not free because you pay for it, don't you? But you get an exclusive lesson each month and a podcast. And usually in the podcast, I blether on and pontificate about certain matters that have been on my mind, as well as playing some music. And here's the thing, back in the sort of 70s and I guess the 80s as well, and maybe even the 90s, but I sort of lost interest by that. Kind of chart music, teeny bopper music, disposable pop, let's call it. That was often, kind of singer-songwriters. I mean, Gary Barlow, there's an example, I mean, we tend to think of Take That in the 90s as just being yet another teeny bopper kind of pop band. But Gary Barlow was writing those songs with a guitar, and he was sitting down, he was writing lyrics, and he was coming up with chord sequences and melodies and stuff like that. How many of the current crop of, whoever's in the hit parade, there's an old-fashioned term for you, how many of them are doing that nowadays? It's just, they get given a song to record and they're told, this is your next single, learn the words and show up and sing it, and don't worry, we'll fix any bum notes with auto-tune. But back in the day, you had to have at least some songwriting talent and singing talent, but particularly songwriting talent and talent with an instrument, in order to be a viable option. I mean, the Bay City Rollers. Bay City Rollers these days, if they came out, they would be just four smartly dressed lads, standing behind microphones or sitting on bar stools, as in Westlife, and, just kind of reciting the words off the auto cue. They wouldn't have had any creative input. But back in the day, you used to kind of, that was just the norm. So interesting. Has music dumbed down? I think you probably know my opinion, but yeah. Is Mr. Hoggart in? He's evening, Steve. If you're in, sorry, I was blethering there. I missed you. Phil's in. Phil Simmons, how are you, mate? By the same token, though, John, chirpy, cheap in the 70s. Yeah, okay, you got me there. Middle of the road. That was one of the first. Dear me, I'm ashamed to admit this. That was one of the first singles that I ever owned. I didn't buy it. I was too young, but it was one of the first ones that was ever bought for me. Shall I tell you? Here's a big reveal. The first single I ever owned, the first piece of music that I ever expressed a desire to own to my parents, and they went out and bought it for me. Any idea what it might be? Any guesses? Excuse me while I'm just pouring the ale. It was Ernie, the fastest milkman in the West. So there you go. Benny Hill. Someone mentioned Taylor Swift there. You see, I don't think of Taylor Swift in that sort of teeny bopper mold, really, because she was sort of she had that sort of country kind of thing going on, didn't she? She was very much an up and coming country star, and then did the crossover to pop. Oh, dear me. Yes, the X-Jukebox 45s. Yeah, you could buy those in your local newsagent, couldn't you? Yes. How many bands can start round a mate's house these days? Oh, the good old days. Yes, indeed, Deco. It's very much. But then again, you talk about manufactured bands, and probably one of the most successful manufactured bands, i.e. they were put together by either management or promoter or something, was Supertramp. They were very much kind of people thrust together by the people with the purse strings. So Strangely, Benny Hill had actually been a milkman. Yeah, well, it doesn't surprise me. Write about what you know. Ernie, brilliant. Mine was Crackling Rose, which I only recently found out is about cheap wine. Here's the thing, yeah. A mate of mine got dragged along by his missus to a Neil Diamond gig, thinking, don't really want to go to this. He said, but it was one of the best gigs. And this was only like, I would guess in the last 10 years or so. He says, one of the best gigs I've ever been to. He says, you forget just how many great songs he did, you know, and, you know, he was in the crowd singing his lungs out all night, along with all of these songs. He says, best night he'd ever had. Did anyone see Dave Simpson's Hello You Lot vid? No wonder he moved to France. I've scrolled past the thumbnail a few times, but like many of Dave's vids, it's like I look at how long it's going to be and I think I don't have time to watch that at the moment. And I miss out on a lot of great YouTube stuff like that. I should really try and catch up over the Christmas break. Like him all, loathe him, I think Ed Sheeran has some talent. Yeah, good point, Chris. Yeah, I mean, his he sort of made the guitar cool again, didn't he? You know, it was at least it wasn't somebody else doing that sort of beatboxing kind of. Maybe he does, I don't know, but you know what I've seen of him, he's just like the acoustic balladeer, isn't he? Oh dear me, sorry, Podrick, have I touched a nerve there, mate? Not a Neil Diamond fan. What's that, Anton? I got dragged along to a Rick Astley gig 2 years ago. I have to say the band was great, the bass player especially. Yeah. It's is it Rick Astley I'm thinking of? But I do know that the current sort of touring, or not current obviously at the moment, but the recent touring lineup of Jeff Lynne's ELO, I think that's Take That's backing band, with, you know, kind of Jeff Lynne and Richard Tandy, two of the original members of ELO, which, you know, it's, I don't know. The interesting thing there is actually that I always thought one of the standout things for me of ELO, the original lineup back in the 70s, was, you know, Bev Bevan's drum sound. Just this massive sounding, explosive, you know, kind of powerhouse drummer. And well, he ended up with Black Sabbath, didn't he, for a while? And, you know, but then you listen to the new ELO stuff. I mean, I've got the first Jeff Lynne's ELO, like the new incarnation of ELO, where it's just Jeff playing everything, and the drums sound the same. So it's, you know, all credit to Jeff as a producer there. You know, he's, you know, it was a lot of the Bev Bevan drum sound, I think, must have been Jeff Lynne's production. What's that, Bob? I think when this nonsense ends, we should put a massive gig on. I'm sure there will be plenty of us on who will be up for it. Yeah, that'd be cool. It might be a bit of a logistical kind of difficulty finding somewhere that's, you know, close enough for everybody to sort of travel to, and you know, but yeah, in principle, that's a fantastic idea, Bob. You know. You know, the John Robson reprobates, maybe, I don't know, but yeah, that'd be cool. Bev now plays in a band called Quill here in Brum. Okay, fair enough. I know he's big mates with Jasper Carrott, isn't he, Bev Bevan? You know, I know they go back a long way. Yes, didn't we all get fed up with Stock Aitken and Waterman? I think that was, to be honest with you, that was when the rot set in, wasn't it? That was when the whole kind of, you know, the cookie cutter pop star kind of thing came out, you know. Maybe, well, I guess back in the no, that's probably wrong. Back in the 60s, there was Larry Parnes, wasn't there, with like, you know, kind of Billy Fury and, you know, all of his stable of acts. But it was, I think that was when that Stock Aitken and Waterman thing was when the management and the production of the music sort of became one in the same thing, and it just became like, you know, a sausage factory churning out product. Oh, Phil, you'll play drums. I feel there are enough guitarists already. Yes, there's probably one or two. Stop making and recording, M. I'm not sure what you mean there, Chip. Maybe it's the beer is affecting my comprehension skills. I'm not sure. Hi, Dave saying, hi, I've given up looking for a Brian May sound. As you said, I think I'm going to go down a rabbit hole. Yeah, I mean, there was a story I read in Guitarist magazine many years ago where there was like the guy who was president or secretary or something of the Shadows fan club, and you know, he actually got to go to a Shadows sound check and meet Hank and everything, and actually got to play Hank's guitar through Hank's rig. Hank's guitar through Hank's rig. Do you think he sounded like Hank? No, he did. He sounded like him. You know, it's all in, or a large part of it, obviously, is in the you know, just the way you attack the guitar, the way you pick the strings, the way you fret the notes and everything. I know it's a cliche to say it's in the fingers, but to an extent it is. When soap star became pop stars, it was all downhill. Yes, indeed, Ozzy. Indeed, mate. Harley Benton to a Brian May guitar for about 250 quid or less. Got good reviews. Yeah, that's the thing, that Brian May Harley Benton copy. You have to get it and then do some mods to it because it's not got the same pickup switching as Brian May's guitar. You know, so to be honest with you, you could pretty much take any, if you wanted that Brian May sound, you could get some Burns Trisonic pickups, and you know, if you're handy with a soldering iron, and do the mods on pretty much any Strat style guitar, really. I worked in a sausage roll factory once, never ate one since. Oh, don't say that to me, mate. No, dearie me. You got to love a Greg's sausage roll. That's one of my regular luncheon choices, it has to be said. Yeah, if Saxon solo today for the first video of January, and it's a very distinctive sound. The track I did was, or the solo I did was, you know, the obvious one, 747 Strangers in the Night. I did the solo from that, and you know, I'm scrolling through presets in Guitar Rig, and I'm trying to find, you know, something that sounds pretty close. I ended up using a Van Halen patch on Guitar Rig, and it sounded absolutely blob on. You know, mainly because it was just that sort of, you know, all of the ducks were in a row. It was like my picking attack, my guitar, and that Van Halen kind of patch on Guitar Rig. It just kind of all came together and sounds pretty much identical to the record I ended up finding. Why do guitarists want to create other people's sounds, make your own sounds? Yeah, well, this is it. I mean, I was having this conversation today with a lad called Mick, who's one of my students, and we've just been doing a Brian May solo, funnily enough, and he was saying, yeah, it's a bit fast though. I can't quite keep up with it. I said, Mick, that's not the point, mate. What you do is you look at the licks that he's played, and you get those under your fingers, and then you try playing them, you know, in another context. So you've added to your vocabulary of licks, and I'm doing that, and it was like, okay, great, I'm playing a fantastic solo now. So it's when you're learning someone else's solo, you've always got to bear in mind that what you're doing is you're learning to use the same raw materials that they had, i.e. the scale and the bends and the all that sort of stuff, to create something of your own. It's like when you first kind of get given a scale diagram, and it's like, okay, that scale fits over these chords, now play a solo. It's the most daunting thing in the world. It certainly was for me when I first started playing lead guitar. It's like, well, what do I do? And you end up inevitably just running up and down the scale and kind of just rambling and noodling and stuff. But the idea of learning someone else's solos is to, kind of get the sort of general gist of what they're doing with the scale, or the mode or whatever, and then do something of your own with it. And that's something I encourage everybody to do, is to, just learn a few licks from the solo. Don't worry if there's a fast twiddly bit somewhere in the middle that you can't quite get your fingers around. Ignore it. Just take the bits that you can play and start using those licks in your own solos over different backing tracks in different keys. You learn to transpose stuff. You learn to kind of rework stuff. You learn to think, okay, that maybe that note needs to be a little bit longer or shorter, or maybe I need to add another note on the end or something like that. And it gets you thinking more creatively. What does Hank Marvin say when he's hungry? Here we go. Where are we? There's a great Bonamassa course on YouTube I recommend. Yeah, okay, I'll check that out, Ozzy. I gotta tell you, I do struggle a bit with Joe Bonamassa. I always want to like his stuff, and these days when you kind of you're scrolling through your albums on your phone or whatever, and or wherever you kind of listening to your music, I always seem to scroll past Joe's stuff. I'll listen to an album once and think, yeah, it's pretty good, and then I never seem to want to listen to it again for some reason. I've yet to hear a Joe Bonamassa album that's left enough of an impression on me to want to listen to it a second time. Evening, Peter. How are you, mate? Peter Shields is in. Axe Caricaturist. How are you, mate? Has John gone for everyone or just for me? Let me just check my my connection. No, I'm still strongly connected. Timbo, do you remember the band Boston, John? Of course I do. That Boston first album is one of my favourite albums of all time. I did a video about that very recently. Chip's saying, thank you. I find Joe Bonamassa hard work. I don't find him hard work. I don't know. It's like he's a guy who plays a Les Paul through a Marshall and plays bluesy kind of high octane rock. Well, we're sort of talking with speedy licks. I've already got a load of Gary Moore albums. Thank you very much. Do you know what I mean? Buffering issues happening. Oh, I'm sorry, lads. There's nothing I can do about that. I'm just checking my connection speed there, and I've got a pretty strong and fast upload speed here. So I don't know. It's Christmas having an effect on the internet. I'm good with everybody else. Am I? Oh, thank you. Yes, we'll struggle on through. We'll manage. It's probably more beer that's needed. Beth Hart, Mr. Wayne Scott. Yes, excellent. Totally agree. Yeah, I agree with you, Peter, mate. Yeah, I like listening to interviews with Joe Bonamassa. I like watching lessons that he does and kind of stuff like that. It's just, I just can't really kind of find it. You know, it ticks all the boxes, and I should like it. Same with John Mayer. Same with John Mayer. You know, it's like I should like John Mayer, and I don't dislike the guy. I don't dislike his music, but it's never really kind of just made the hairs on the back of my neck, if there are any still left. It's never made it stand up, you know. Was Boston not a manufactured band? One guy in a studio? Yeah, pretty much. It was Tom Scholz, wasn't it, who pretty much you know, kind of masterminded the whole Boston thing, and you know, then you know, kind of got obviously him and Brad Delp, but there were other musicians involved whose names escape me at the moment. But yeah. And you know, I think they're still going, aren't they? I mean, Tom Scholz is still cranking out Boston albums. Obviously, Brad Delp's no longer there, and I do know there was a bit of controversy about, you know, when Brad Delp died, that there was, you know, Brad's family were a little bit bitter towards Tom, and I think it was kind of a bit of a, you know, a bit of an angry back and forth, let's say. I did not see the Andertons interview with Albert Lee. I shall have to check that out. You know, I do like Albert Lee. I met it, well, probably mentioned this before, but I met him once. Really, really nice guy. It was way back in the early 90s, you know, when he just kind of started using Music Man guitars before that sort of wacky shaped signature model came out. He was demoing the Music Man Silhouette, which was a brand new guitar at the time. I think it was the Guitarist show in Manchester. And, you know, just met him in the bar, you know, had a bit of a natter with him. Really nice chap. Do you think it was right for Eric Clapton to bang George Harrison's missus, then write dopey love songs about her after? Then write dopey love songs about her after? Well, you know, that's between them, isn't it? You know, I'm not going to make any pronouncements about that, but I do know that when Eric married Patty, George was his best man. So, you know, obviously they got past it. So it's who am I to make pronouncements on that? Eric Clapton never met a dollar he didn't like. Super smart guy. Yeah, I mean, some of my favourite albums and some of my favourite guitar solos and some of my favourite songs are Eric Clapton songs. But some of the songs I just loathe the most are also Eric Clapton songs. And he admits it himself. I read his autobiography a couple of years ago, and he said there were huge parts of his career that he just can't remember. And he was just on autopilot, just churning the music out because he knew if he put Eric Clapton on an album cover, it would sell and that would buy him a new Maserati or a new Ferrari or whatever. You know, he basically, I think the phrase he used, like for large parts of the 70s and 80s, he was permanently on holiday, and, you know, playing guitar was just a way of financing the holiday. A lot of YouTubers really pushing Schecter guitars at the moment. Yeah, I've noticed that. I've got to say that's something that has sort of piqued my interest. I mean, there was one of my students well before lockdown that used to come here for lessons. He's not been in a while, obviously, but he had this absolutely stunning Schecter guitar. It was like a Strat shape, but it was a set neck, twin humbucker Les Paul kind of thing with a gorgeous maple top. Beautiful looking thing, and I played it a few times. Absolutely stunning guitar. So, you know, They do make really rather nice instruments, it has to be said. But yeah, I've noticed that, I don't know, maybe they're on a bit of a marketing drive. I'll let you know if I get an email from them. Been studying Eric Johnson lately, and that's hard work. I'm hoping it pays off. Yeah, I can't tell you the number of times I've tried to master that intro solo from Cliffs of Dover. And I think the best thing we can say is that Eric and I have very different playing styles. You know, I would like to think, and this is how I console myself, I would like to think that there's probably some of my solos that Eric couldn't play. Although I doubt it. But that's what I tell myself. But yeah, I mean that album, I Value Music On, again, another album that I've done a video about, on like why I love this album, one of those videos. It's just a masterpiece from beginning to end, really. I had a Schecter guitar, great guitars, wish I didn't get rid of it, says Craig. Yep. My first kind of knowledge of Schecter guitars was in sort of the late 70s, really, when I used to collect guitar. Well, not collect, I didn't have a collection of, but I used to kind of try and get my hands on any guitar-related literature, you know, like parts catalogues. I had a DiMarzio catalogue for years that I used to kind of, I still remember the smell of it, actually. And, you know, one of these was a Schecter parts catalogue. And, you know, I just knew them as like, you know, kind of, you could buy new necks or new bodies for your guitar or whatever. And then suddenly, you know, I'd forgotten about them. And then suddenly in 85, Dire Straits start, you know, everybody, you know, Mark and whoever was in the band at the time with him, they're using Schecter guitars. And then the Power Station come up, you know, where the lads from Duran Duran doing that kind of sort of off kind of side project, the Power Station, and they're using Schecter guitars. And then suddenly they were just this massive brand of like finished guitars. But I first heard of them as a parts manufacturer. Yeah, a lot of YouTubers pushing these Harley Bentons. I suppose, yes. Guilty, my lord. I've done a fair bit of that. You know, I like Harley Benton guitars. I like the fact that you can buy something for under 200 quid that punches well above its weight. You know, it's just, and yes, there's bad ones slip through the net. I don't deny that, but you know, there's bad Fenders and there's bad Gibsons and there's bad Epiphones and there's, you know, any mass-produced product has the odd bad one slip through. But you know, well, you can see, I don't know, you can't actually, you can see a Harley Benton Strat on the wall behind me, that black one in the corner there. Great little guitar. John, check out The Shadows at 60. It's a BBC documentary on YouTube. Well worth a watch. Yes, I've seen it, mate. Yeah, fantastic. Interesting thing in that was that they interviewed Hank and they interviewed Bruce and they interviewed all of the kind of relevant people. But you never saw Hank and Bruce in the same room together. I did hear from a pal of mine who's... He's the guitarist in a Shadows tribute band, and he's very, very plugged into that whole kind of Shadows fandom scene that Hank and Bruce pretty much despise each other these days. That's why you should buy from a small guitar producer like Dan. Indeed, yes. Just say it again. There it is. Isn't she lovely? Look at that top on that, man. I mean, it's just gorgeous, isn't it? I'm still doing that thing, you know. I'm still, you know, being a middle-aged man, you wake up in the middle of the night and you've got to answer the call of nature. And after taking care of business, I just sort of walk along the landing and, you know, flick the light on in here and take a look at it and then go back to bed. You know, it's sad, I know, but it is what it is. Yeah, I'll agree with you there, mate. You can find a bad one in any great guitar company. Not PRS. There are no bad PRSs. Indeed, I often, you know, when I'm kind of, it's usually actually, you know, when you see me do these YouTube videos, and there'll be like on-screen graphics and stuff like that where I'll display a scale diagram or something like that. Well, you know, I have to sit down and create those, and actually, I'm ashamed to say that I do all of those in Microsoft Paint. I'm probably the only person still alive who's still using that. But, you know, I have on in the background, I'll have YouTube kind of videos just kind of playing, just to kind of give me something to listen to. And I have Dave's World of Fun stuff, you know, the Canadian guitar tech luthier guy. And, you know, he said that many times. There's two brands that he never, ever gets in for, like, serious repairs that, you know, that are, like, you know, kind of indicate a badly made guitar are PRS and Music Man. You know, so I think that says something, doesn't it? Oh, Chris Buck has a signature gold top Rev Star now. Again, you know, Yamaha guitars. You ever played a bad one? Oh, Stevie, yeah, I was not sure about the Harley Benton. No, I've tried this chap Rob Neal in recording, and he has a few of them, and they've been great. Yes, yeah. I mean, the thing is, I mean, this kind of goes to pricing. I mean, I may have mentioned in a video or two that my missus makes jewellery, and, you know, she's very good at it. Check out the shop. The link is in the description below this video. And, you know, she can make, you know, a piece of jewellery with genuine gemstones and make a reasonable profit on it for, let's say, 20 quid for a necklace or something like that. But if she prices it at 20 quid, people don't want to buy it because they think it's rubbish. But if she prices it 50 or 60 quid, they sell more. You know, and it's just that kind of thing. If you put the price up to where it looks like a premium product, but it's still within an affordable range, then you know, you're probably going to end up selling rather. Excuse me, the beer talking. You're probably going to end up selling more of them for that very reason. And I think that's the thing that Harley Benton suffer from. They are ridiculously cheap, but, you know, if they sold for twice, if they kind of didn't have the reputation of being a dirt cheap bargain basement brand, and if you know, if they could shed that reputation and, you know, kind of charge double the money, I think they would, you know, many people would take them more seriously. Let's put it that way. Yeah, I agree with you, Mattia. Is that your name? Sorry. Yes, Mattia. Sorry, these glasses need changing. I'm using pound shop reading glasses at the moment. So, thank you, Bob. Thank you very much. I shall pass that on. You got a 1978 precision bass. It's just like the paint has softened. Do any of you know what I mean? I guess so. Yeah. A lad I used to know had a 70s Strat, big, I've got to say, a bit ugly, kind of hardtail Strat with a big ugly CBS headstock and everything. And it always felt like it was just that the lacquer on it just felt like a little bit sticky every time you played it. I got Eric Johnson picks. No need to practice. Just buy the picks. It's all you need. Yeah. I was very fortunate there, Craig. I played the Music Man Steve Morse model when it first came out back in the late 80s. And again, it was one of these guitarist shows, and I was on the just on the Music Man stand. For some reason, like the way this show had been laid out, it was like it was all sort of on one main floor of this building, and then you had to go up some stairs, through a set of double doors and down a corridor, and there were a few other stands up there. And Music Man was one of the stands that was in this kind of less. It was off the main track of the show, kind of part of the deal, and it was deserted. So I just kind of played this Music Man Steve Morse for a good 15-20 minutes through a Music Man amp as well at the time, and dearie me, it was. It was absolute. You know when you're kind of sitting there playing a guitar and you're thinking, I wonder how much I'd get if I sold a kidney. It was one of those kind of moments. And beautiful, beautiful guitar. I mean, completely unfathomable pickup switching. I just didn't, kind of like, I think there's about 2 or 3 different pickup switches on it, that obviously makes sense to Steve, but it was a beautiful guitar to play. And if I had one, I'd figure it out. But I don't need one, do I? Because did I mention I've got a signature guitar? Sorry, yes. And this guitar stand's fighting with me. There you go. Yeah, but Music Man, fantastic guitars. Oh, you're off Podrick, are you, mate? Yeah, you're going to order the takeaway. Well, that's what we're having tonight as well, as it happens. There is a big box of kebabs turning up around about 7 o'clock. So hopefully they'll be on time, because I need something to soak all this up. Dear me, I'm going through some ale tonight. This week I bought a Harley Benton 70 Deluxe from eBay. Ended up chatting to the guy I bought it from for an hour, and we mentioned John Robson as being a good example of YouTube guitar. Oh, well, thank you very much, Andrew. Thank you. My fame is spreading, it seems. A few months ago, actually, I was on Redcar High Street, and I was doing that thing. We've got a branch of cash converters on the high street up here. And I was just looking at the guitars in the high street, and some bloke came up and said, "Just want to say, I love your videos." Shook my hand and walked off. So, can we meet your Mrs. John and wish her a Merry Christmas? She seems awesome. Hold that thought. Jack? Yeah? You got a minute? Yeah, what? They want to meet you. Meet you. She's on her way, lads. What we said. Guitar or amp, what's more important? Well, I don't know. We'll come back to that. Here she is. Say hello to the chaps.
Hello, is everybody all right today? I'll leave you lot to it and get on with it. So I do exist. Take it easy. I'll see you in a bit.
See you in a bit, love. And make sure my dinner's on the table when I come back. There you go. Yes, so she does exist. Yes. If you were in cash converters, John, and somebody shook your hand, did you check you still had your watch? Now, I will tell you a story about cash converters. It's not very, it doesn't make them look very good. I took back in about 2012, I took my Pride and Joy standard Telecaster I had back then, I'll make no bones about it. I was on the bones of my arse financially, and I needed to I needed to pay the gas bill or something. So I took me. I still had a couple of other guitars, so I took the expensive guitar into cash converters. And oh no, son, the most we can get for that when we sell it here, the most we can get for that is 195. I can't give you a penny more than 150. And I managed to haggle him up to 175. Right, so I got 175 quid for this USA Fender Telecaster in 2012. And then you've got like 28 days to buy it back. And I didn't have the money, so I didn't buy it back. So 28 days later, it goes on the window. It goes in the window. And you know how much they were charging for it? $595. You know, I mean, just don't lie. Just don't lie to me. Don't tell me that the most you can get for this is 195, so the most you can give me is 175, and you're going to make a meager profit on it. You know, just tell me, say, look, son, I know you're desperate, so this is the price we're offering. Take it or leave it. And I would have still taken the price, because it was either that or get the electric cut off or get the gas cut off. You know, don't spin me a bloody line. You know, mind you, I'll say this. I'll not say too much more about it, but I have had my own back on them since. But we'll leave it at that. At last we meet, I can feel the happiness from her. Yes, she's. Yeah, I managed to snag myself a good one there. It has to be said. I did the same with my Epiphone Sheraton Blonde and hard case. A guitar shop in Newcastle gave me 200 quid, and it was up to 450 the next week. Still got it. Yeah, this is it. It's not the price that they gave me for it. It's the fact that they lied to me. You know. And spun me this whole kind of line about, you know, oh, well, overhead, son, and the most we can get for this is, you know, just, you know I'm desperate. I know I'm desperate. Just kind of tell me your best price. And, you know, anyway. It's in a video by Mike called From China Fitar Skepta. I don't know what you. Sorry, I keep jumping into the chat and joining a conversation halfway through. John, if cash converters find out you do beer every Friday, you never sell a kidney. No, that's the liver. That's completely different. Your daughter lived in a house in London and got robbed a few times. Walked past the local cash converters and saw stuff in the window. Yeah. Now, you see, this is something I have one of my students is a chap in New York, and he, he's just been to a local guitar centre to buy, I think it was some sort of pedal or other, but it was a used pedal that they had. And, you know, they have to actually check that it's not stolen. Excuse me, I've just noticed that the top of my head's chopped off. They have to actually check that the gear that they're selling isn't stolen. And, you know, I think some kind of law like that over here would be a good thing, to be honest. Each beer you do drink, I'm having a shot. Yes, well, you see, I will be at that sort of stage later, to be honest. I get to the point with beer where where I feel really bloated, so I tend to have a shot, but then I think, well, let's have a beer with it. And so consequently, Friday evenings tend to get a little bit fuzzy towards the end. Yeah, I agree with you there, Peter. But as I say, I did get a bargain out of them. It was one of those situations where, you know, when they didn't know that they'd got something that they'd got, and you know, I I got something really cheap from Cash Converters. Where are we? Cash Converters basically steal from people that need money. They are, in my opinion, wankers, and I would never support their business. Well, that is the case, Kieran. I mean, you know, it's a pawn shop. You know, it's a good old fashioned pawn shop. Pawn shop where you put your stuff in hock, and you know, I mean, ironically, one of my favourite shows on TV is Pawn Stars. You know, that Las Vegas pawn shop. You know, and I get the feeling if Rick from Pawn Stars was running my local branch of Cash Converters, I'd have got a better price for that guitar. That's all I'm saying. Yes, I follow David Wallerman on YouTube. He seems like a nice bloke with a different teaching style. Yes, I find his videos really, really interesting. I also like Paul Davids as well. I think he's another great YouTuber, a guy I have a lot of time for. I always kind of gauge people by, would I go for a pint with this person? And those two are definitely in the yes column. I got a Tokai Les Paul off them for 80 quid. It's not my fault. They can't read. Oh, Jockeye, yes. But then, you know, you look in Cash Converters and you see, you know, something like, it will blatantly say on the headstock, Squire Stratocaster, and it'll be like an Affinity or a Bullet or something like that. And they'll just write the ticket and say, Fender Stratocaster, you know. It's like, yeah, you know, you just need to, and somebody will pay the price that they're asking for it. But, you know, again, it all comes out in the wash, doesn't it? Look at the ridiculous head I've put on that there. Isn't that ridiculous? Again, I used to be a barman, but you'd never know. Yeah, Craig, let me tell you a little story. This is for anybody who's on Teesside, or if you're looking for a guitar, right? Steve James Guitars. They're a little guitar shop round here. They used to be in Middlesbrough, but they've recently relocated to Saltburn. Basically, they're a Teesside guitar shop. And they have a website so you can order online and stuff, and I really, really highly recommend that you do. I took a guitar in there because it had like really, really bad fret buzz, and they said, I think this guitar needs a fret dress. Can you do a fret dress on it? You know, just tell me what it's going to cost. And he said, I tell you what, son, there's a, call me son, there's a cafe downstairs. Go down there, have a cup of coffee, we'll check your guitar out and we'll let you know what it's going to cost. So I did. Came back up and said, well, how much is it going to cost then? He said, that was just a bit of spot leveling. Yeah, no problem. He said, no, don't. It took us 5 minutes. Don't worry about it. There's your guitar. Just leave us a nice review on Trustpilot. So obviously I did. And that's the kind of people you're dealing with, you know. Any other shop would have said, or many other shops would have said, you know, kind of, oh, well, it's going to cost you 150 quid and we're going to have it in, and, you know. But in the time it took me to drink a cup of coffee, they sorted out the fret buzz. And, you know, and they didn't charge me for it. So naturally, I bought like a whole load of guitar strings and a guitar lead, and, you know, all the picks, fast fret, all the stuff you usually kind of stock up on. And, you know, that was, you know, just, so Steve James Guitar, check him out. He's a great lad, is Steve, and he used to be the bass player in a band called Dogs de Moor, if anybody remembers those guys. But yeah, very honest, very reputable company to deal with. So check them out. Excuse me, I'm just catching up on the chat. Are you talking about me with my bladder of steel? Yes, well, it is getting that way, but you know, as you say, once you break the seal, so I'm trying to kind of delay that moment, but we're all right for the moment. Pornstar's 1960 Stratocaster guitar was interesting. Yeah, the one that always springs to mind in terms of guitars on Pornstars was, you've probably seen it a million times on YouTube, but the one where you know, this lady shows up with a Phil Collins Jackson signature guitar that was actually one of the artist proofs, and Phil Collins actually shows up and plays it. You know, Def Leppard guy. You know, so that was a canny episode. Oh yes, we're all talking about Steve James guitars now. Yeah, it's I think they're a fantastic guitar shop, and to my shame, because you know it's just so easy to sort of buy online. I don't buy from them as much as I should, but you know I always like to kind of do my bit to spread the word about them. Do you apply lemon oil through the strings, or do you have to take them off first? I don't know. I've never used lemon oil. I've said this before, but my go-to fretboard conditioner of choice is Dr. Duck's Axe Wax. It cleans all the gunk off your strings, and it leaves your fretboard feeling as slick as a greased weasel. Oh, you off, Bob? You off to have your pizza, mate? Good for you. Oh, the new Aldi's open 400 yards from your house. So, yes, try this Saint Etienne, Aussie. It's a canny drop, mate. Thank you, Vincent. I shall pass that on. Thank you, mate. Steve is a great guy to he ordered a Charvel telly, even though they don't normally deal with them. Yeah, this is it. It's Steve James guitars we're talking about here. It's, you know, he's a guitar player, he's a musician, and he gets what musicians actually want and need and kind of talk about, and you know he's plugged into the local music scene, and you know he's another guy. Again, we're talking very specifically here at Teesside. Pete Webster from Bandland, which I believe is no longer there. But I remember the glory days of Bandland, you know, from when they were in Stockton Town Centre. And my 21st birthday present came from Bandland. I got a Session amp. Does anybody remember Session amps? I think they later rebranded themselves as Sessionette. But I got a Session amp, and I think it was this was 1988, so it was about 250 quid, this amp, and you know a delay pedal and a chorus pedal, and this was only 21st birthday present, and I had like 200 quid to spend, so the amp alone was 250 quid, and you know then there was, you know, pedals and leads and stuff on top of that. And he said, right, well, he said that all comes to this much, and then he looked at how much money I've got. He said, give us that now and give us another 20 quid next time you're in. I mean, that's ridiculous, you know. So, you know, Bandland, again, sadly no longer there, but that was a great shop to go to. You prefer the Moretti copy at Aldi's? Oh, well, fair enough. Yeah, I'm not sure what they actually call that one, but I know the one you mean. Yes, but I'm a bit of a Stella drinker when it comes to lager, which is why I drink this Morrison's stuff here, because it's very similar to Stella, but I know the one you mean. Bandland was a great shop. It was gutted when it closed. Yeah, the thing, I mean, again, this is one for the Teesside lads. Bandland, you know, they were in Stockton town centre, so they moved, and parking was always an issue for them. So they moved out of the town centre to a trading estate. But they were on this like kind of weird little obscure corner of the trading estate that yet it was a bit tricky to find. And I think that hurt them. I don't know, but you know, it was certainly it was one of those music shops that was like, or you know, kind of guitar shops that was a hangout for musicians. You could just go in there and, you know, and kind of chat to people, even if you weren't going to buy anything. You always did. You always bought like a set of strings or, you know, a few picks or something like that. But it was like a great social scene in there, I always remember. And, you know, you could just kind of chat to them, and it'd be like, oh, what do you think of this new Ibanez that's come out? Or what do you think of this new Fender? Oh, we've got one of those in. And, you know, they'd kind of grab it off the one. Have a play of that, see what you think. And it was just a fantastic way to kind of buy your musical equipment, which sadly is lacking these days, you know, when it's just kind of, you know, GAC or Thomann or Andertons or whatever, click, buy, and it turns up. I like the Reichenbach lager from Aldi. Good German stuff. Oh, fair enough, mate. Yes, I've not tried that one. Yeah, Steve. I got to tell you, I mean, I get a bit of flack for using Dr. Duck's Axe Wax. You know, there's all people saying, "Oh, you're putting petroleum distillates onto your guitar, and it's going to give you cancer of the fingertips and stuff." Well, it hasn't managed it yet, you know. Yes, I heard about that, Chip. I heard about Dawson's. Now, Dawson's weren't local to me, but I do kind of know the buzz about them as a shop. They were kind of very much that sort of local music shop. I guess like Andertons were or are, I guess, you know, and then kind of grow out of it. And I think it's, you know, I think it's nice that, you know, I don't think it's nice that Bandland closed down or that Dawson's did, but I think it's nice that small little family-owned businesses like Andertons can kind of flourish. I think it shows that there is, you know, a place for that kind of retailer in the modern world. Bought my Carlsberg Cobra from Windows, JG Windows in Newcastle. Yes, the Central Arcade. Dearie me, I remember it well. Yes, Jason, Spenders. I don't remember that one, I've got to tell you. Nickel wound strings will give you cancer quicker than mineral oil. Well, dearie me, I didn't know that, but, you know, I'm not even sure what these strings are. These are the strings I use. I've probably mentioned this before. If you don't know these strings, check them out. I should be, again, another product I should be getting kickbacks from. Legacy strings. I've only ever seen them on Strings Direct, which is what I get them from. Regular 10 to 46 gauge set, and as good as D'Addario, Ernie Ball, or Rotor Sound, or any of the big name brands, and the $3.99 a set. Ridiculous value. John, try magnetic stuttered water. I only drink it. I have no idea what you're talking about, mate, but never mind. Yeah, I tried Elixir strings. I tried them, Malcolm. It's that coating I can't get on with. I really can't. Just that sort of plasticky kind of feel on the strings. It really bugged me. And it was like, for me, it's like, okay, they sound as good as new for months on end, but, you know, new, they still sound like an old set of strings to me, Elixir strings. New House Music, dearie me, Craig. Yes, I remember that one. Oh, everybody outside of the UK, everybody outside of Teesside is kind of probably switching off now and you know, and going watching Daryl Braun or something. Yeah, New House Music. That was another shop. That was it. That was like that was the one in the Cleveland Centre, wasn't it, mate? Yeah. Yes, Ozzy. Eddie Van Halen got cancer from putting metal picks under his tongue, his own words. And the 40 Marlboro a day had no effect at all. Just saying, you know. Yes, indeed, Brad. Squire were a string manufacturer. And then Fender realized in the 60s that they made their own guitars, they made their own amps. We don't make our own strings, though. Okay. Shall we build a string factory? No, let's buy one, which is how come Fender ended up with the Squire brand. I made a cock up and ordered 3 sets of Tiger strings, then spotted your YouTube review after that. Yeah, Tiger strings. Oh, dear me. Someone else, one of my students actually, his grandson, Stuart, if you're watching, I'm talking about you. His grandson, he got a phone call from him and said, Grandad, you know them screws on the pickups? How do you adjust them? And he's talking about the pole piece screws. He says, what do you mean? He says, well, I've just put this new set of strings on and the B string just isn't there. It's not making any noise. So I need to kind of screw that screw up to make it louder. And it turns out he bought Tiger strings, which is exactly the experience I had with them. Oh, you off, Dan? Oh, yeah, you have to get the dinner in, mate. Oh, you off, Dan? Oh, yeah, you have to get the dinner in, mate. Yes. Well, I'll tell you what. I know I promised you a 2-hour live stream, but the old bladder of steel is kind of straining at the leash a little bit, and I've noticed that the viewing numbers are starting to kind of trickle down a little bit. So I'm going to call time here, gentlemen. Thank you so much once again for turning up. It has been an absolute blast. I've had a great time chatting to all of you lads, me mates, and check out the videos that are coming up for the rest of the year, and make sure you kind of stay on board for the videos that are coming up in January. Loads of great stuff coming up. But for now, I'll wish you all a happy Christmas and a happy and prosperous New Year. All the best, folks. Stay well, stay safe, and above all, stay sane. It's been an absolute blast. But for now, time, gentlemen, please.